what I say, that is our responsibility to go ahead and educate ourselves. And if we want to be active participants of this change, because let's be realistic, if companies were created to help everybody, then, right, companies were created for profit, right? That's what it is.
Right.
It's profit. So my point is that as an individual, we have agency and we can make our own decisions and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and see what is going on here, what is going to affect my field.
Welcome to Embracing Digital Transformation, where we investigate effective change leveraging people, process, and technology. This is Darren Pulsford, Chief Solution Architect, author, and most importantly, your host. On this episode, AI disruption in government, boosting efficiency, effectiveness, and career growth, with returning guest Dr. Madeleine Wallace. Madeleine, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you. I was very excited when I heard that you want me back. So thank you very much.
I had so much fun last time we talked, and it's been a while, and you may not know this. I finished my PhD dissertation, so I'm Dr. Darren. So two doctors, how can we go wrong? Two doctors that, as my granddaughter says, my grandpa's a doctor but doesn't help people. Because I can't fix anyone, I'm not a medical doctor. So that's how she explains it to her friends. My grandpa's a doctor that doesn't help people. So, oh well, from the mouth of children, I guess.
No, really, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it is so much work when you're doing the PhD.
It is.
Yes.
But hey, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about what's going on right now in government. It's a big deal, right? We've got the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. There's a lot of laying off of people, a lot of disruption. And I've been in DC recently, and the disruption's not just in government agencies. I'm seeing the disruption across the board in consulting, in enterprise companies as well. I'm seeing a lot of disruption. What do we do about this disruption? I know you have a company that works on efficiency and effectiveness. How do you effectively handle this disruption so that you're not coming out of it in a lesser position than you were going in? I mean, you want to be more effective coming out of this. So what are some tips and tricks into that?
Thank you for bringing this topic. I want this discussion to be very informative and provide insights from my experience in the government and also as a consultant of the government. So the federal government does many things, but also relies heavily on contractors. And if there is a problem or if there is a layoff of people from the federal government and there are cancellation of programs, that also affect the contractors because a whole of the activities are done by contractors. And there are two types of contractors. Those who are actually on site, meaning that they perform activities, but they are not full-time employees. They are not, like a GS 15 or 14, 13, or 12. They are not into that. Actually, they just have a contract with a large company. And some of them have a high security. Some don't, and don't have all the benefits of the government employee. So then you go to the contractors, that is a different type, which are the outsiders. Like, for example, when the government contracts Windows Vision, and then we do a job from the outside. We are not in-house. Gotcha. And what happens is that affects the relationships in terms of the economy, in terms also the labor market and the skills and all of that. And also in terms of databases, many databases are managed by contractors. They may be hosted in the system of the government, but also maybe those databases may be outside and they may be hosted by the contractor. And I understand the security issues. So I am a contractor of several government agencies. I'm not going to mention those today, but what I will say is that what Winrow's vision does was assess the effectiveness of the program, and also you assess the efficiency. And those are two different things.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because I think people get those two things confused. So what's the difference between efficiency and effectiveness?
Okay, so I would say that effectiveness, if the program has a goal, for example, the goal is to increase the number of underrepresented groups in STEM. That is the goal of the program. And in the program, you are recruiting people from high school to enter in college and pursue a STEM field, right? And your goal was to increase the number of people in those fields, right? So when you're talking about effectiveness, you look at your goals and you have to make sure that those goals are achievable. But also you can look at what was the type of intervention that was used to produce that effect, that impact, that particular outcome. And usually the outcomes are based on outcomes for individuals. In this case will be that this number of individuals actually pursue STEM, right? But it could be other outcomes, such as that those people remain in STEM, or that they acquire certain skills or they produce certain things because they are scientists. So my point is that when you are doing an effectiveness, you're trying to look what is the effect of whatever intervention you put in place if really achieve those goals and whether it works or not works. So in effective,
so I can have something that's highly effective, but that is highly inefficient at the same time.
Perfect. Yes.
And vice
That's
versa.
right.
I can have something that's highly efficient but not effective. Okay. And both of those are
That's
bad.
right.
Both, right? Highly effective
yes.
and highly inefficient are bad, and ineffective and highly efficient are bad. So we're aiming for highly efficient and highly effective. That's the end goal, right?
That's right. That is the perfect. And that's why when you do a program evaluation, you do focus on efficiency too. Good evaluations focus on the process to make that process more efficient and to see how the intervention is being implemented. And you are looking for efficiency, of course. This issue about the evaluation of progress in the government was very, very difficult for me to explain to my friends of my business. So if people were outside, if they were in business, it was hard. So I needed to use a different terminology.
Right.
Because in the business, if I say program evaluation, what does that mean, right? I have to use like process improvement. See, I have to use other terminology. So it's very difficult for somebody who has been in the government to switch to the private sector because you have to change a lot. So you see, the transition is not that easy. And the same way, those who are in business and they want to enter into the government, it's also very difficult. And usually there are like a couple of requirements. If you were extremely famous, extremely popular in the business, then probably the government will give you an opportunity to enter. But otherwise, it's very difficult to break it into that. And also there are different, I would say, different levels, okay? So, for example, if we're at the Department of Health and Human Services, they receive something from the White House. From there goes to the Department of Health and Human Services. From there will go to the heads of the agencies. But the head of the agencies under the Department of Health and Human Services, like in this case, for example, NIH, HRSA, all of those agencies under that, they also have different levels. And then for those, so then it gets the message there and then it goes down to the next level and so on. And most offices, they work for the, we have what is called the GIPRA, the Government Performance Act. We're supposed to know that was the performance. I was one of those at my office. And every agency needed to do their strategic planning and their performance review. So they all needed to go ahead and also have very clearly goals and what they were going to achieve, and also what progress they were going to evaluate. And every president comes, or every administration comes, and they bring their own terminology. Sometimes they change it, but they bring their own idea of how to assess the effectiveness and efficiency of the programs. And also right now,
do you find that they do understand the difference between effectiveness and efficiency, or do they have a hard time at first understanding that? The new administrations when they come in.
I think what happened, at least what I've seen it, because I was in the government and then I left the government and I'm still involved as a contractor. I think what happened is that there is a law that the General Accountability Office, the General Accountability Office does a lot of reports. They actually look a lot at efficiency, and they also look at effectiveness, and they provide a list, and they tell you actually it's the best writing in government. If you read a Government Accountability Office report, I love those reports. I mean, sorry, I'm a nerd in that. And it tells you the methodology used, and it tells you what is the ways and what has been shown to be effective and what wasn't. However, it appears to me that those reports were there, but nobody acted upon them. So, but a lot of things have been reported in those. And when you're talking about I don't think every administration, because it depends, right? But that they look into what has already been done in the government in terms of effectiveness and efficiency, and go into the GA reports. And also we have the Office of Management and Budget. They also have a lot of accountability. They come up with all those memos that we need to go ahead and follow. And right now we have the Evidence Act, where the agencies actually need to go ahead and have actual data to back up whatever claim. So there have been several efforts. But as I say, if I talk to you about program evaluation, everybody will say, what are you talking about? So within each agency, no matter what type of agency it is, it's always been the issue that the people inside those agencies, they may have not been aware of all these things going on because there are different levels and different layers. And,
so, man,
yes.
It's a huge problem, right? All the different layers and levels, and because it sounds like it would be very difficult to navigate that.
Yes.
And to actually, because anytime you have layers, there's communication mishandling. Information as it goes up the chain tends to get more miscommunication can occur. And then also efficiency and effectiveness are affected by both. Anytime that you have a very hierarchical organization. Anyone that's in business knows this, right? That's why when a company's having a hard time, most of the time a CEO will come in and flatten the organization, right? So that he can get, or he or she can get better information from the people that are actually doing the work. Same thing in government needs to happen, but it can be very difficult, right? Because these organizations are very long-lasting organizations. You have people that have been doing the same job for decades, and they don't change. And I think so. This disruption that we're seeing is causing a lot of problems in this space, right?
That's right, and it happens with the institutional knowledge.
Yeah, there you go. That institutional knowledge is a huge problem too. Yeah.
And then we're talking about the databases. So there has been huge efforts all over. I mean, this has been for many years, everybody complaining that we couldn't merge data from different sources because we have different laws about the Privacy Act. And also, even within the same agency, this office may not be able to share data with this other office because of regulations. So that is why it's very problematic to do any type of, in the perfect world, we will be able to say this intervention cost this amount of money and it was best for this type of people under these circumstances. Many times we cannot do that because in order for us to get to the level for whom the intervention is actually effective and is going to be more efficient, we have to merge data. And if you have these regulations, it won't allow us to go ahead and combine the data sets and be able to report. So then a lot of the evaluations, it's very difficult to do an impact evaluation because you're trying to look at the counter, like what would have happened in the absence of the program. So we do what we can, but as part of the evaluation and as part of this Evidence Act, we do have to collect information and we have to use the existing administrative data to assess what is working and what is not, because that is the bottom line. That was why I went into evaluation. I wanted to find out, hey, this is working for these people under these circumstances. What about this other one? You see, so right now it's a disruption because I want to see now what's going to happen with all those companies that hold a lot of contracts.
Yeah.
And remember also that those data set, there's a lot of databases. So that is also very difficult because I read somewhere or I heard somewhere that were saying, well, only certain people knows how to do this. Unfortunately, that was the reality of the government. Only certain people knew certain
things. Yeah, no, that. Yeah, we see this in enterprises as well, in big companies, right? It's called data hoarding. People keep the data and understand how to use the data because they're worried about their jobs. It's called job security, right? What we're finding out though, and I'm doing a lot of work with different government agencies in leveraging generative AI to kind of break down some of those barriers that people put around their data, so that other people can start understanding that data that has been mostly just in someone's head on how to manipulate or use the data effectively.
So you're right.
Yeah, it's really causing some disruption. So that leads to kind of the next thing that I see happening, because the disruption is happening right now. We see it in government. They're breaking down regulations. Some of these silos that were there are being busted apart. People are scattering, right? Because now I'm not special anymore because I don't have my one thing that I do. What do we do with people? We can't just throw people to the street. I mean, some people are going to get laid off, absolutely. But what do we do? We've got to change the way people work. This is a big culture change. So how do we go about doing this?
Yeah, so I became very interested on upskilling and reskilling the workforce. And I have written several articles at the end of last year. Then I learned that that's not a good time to write articles because everybody's worried about Thanksgiving and the holidays. But anyway, I was writing. So I finished my book in 2023, my first book for businesses. Right. And then immediately I realized, you know what? Now we have this AI and people are I don't think they are actually gaining the skills to be able to understand it and be able to implement it in their businesses. And then I started talking to my friends and, it was just like generative AI. It wasn't as widespread as it is today. So last year in January, February, and March, I started working on my book because I was very concerned at people not gaining the skills, because what was going to happen if a company automate everything or the company start using AI, and then what's going to happen with the employees? They need to upskill or they need to reskill. What are we going to do, right? So that's what I did. I started working on it. And the idea is that in order for all of us to be able to survive the trends of AI, and especially now that we can go in all directions. Actually, I've been just in some webinars that I see the potential and actually how they are creating even proteins. They can do a lot of things in biomedical. It's just wonderful. So it's a great time for discovery. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that haven't been done. So one thing is about the people, that is us. So if somebody gets laid off and replaced by the computer, right, or by a robot or whatever you want to call it, I believe now more than ever, each of us is responsible for our own future and our own career. So in my book, I'm trying to provide the tools for somebody to say, hey, I want to be able to learn this. How do I do it? So I started with 7 career profiles to letting people know, hey, identify yourself with this. And then they are directed to different paths to engage in activities. And you know this, I try to borrow from the agile methodology and I use exploratory sprints. So I think all of us need to engage into these spurs of knowledge where we learn a skill.
Madeleine, I love this approach because a lot of times when we talk about upskilling and reskilling, we only talk about the enterprise's responsibility to do this. But we never, ever talk about an individual's responsibility to change. Because for some reason in our heads, we thought, well, it's someone else's problem to retrain me. But what you're saying here is take your career in your own hands. Yes. And I love how you're using agile exploratory sprints. I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
Oh, I'm glad.
So this is in your new book, right?
Yes, it's my new book.
All right.
Awesome. And basically, my book is unique in that I don't believe that you can immediately say, hey, think about your career vision. No, you need to explore before you even come up and start thinking about your vision for your career. And also,
people get scared, Madeleine. I mean, people are scared, right? I got laid off. I need to hurry and find my next job.
That's right.
So there's some fear in and you and I both know when you're making decisions and you're fearful, you make bad decisions.
That's right. So I try to push the people by doing the following. In my book, we start with identifying your transferable skills.
Okay.
And then I focus not only on AI or generative AI or whatever technology. It's just one skill of many, like critical thinking. You see, so I use like the 10 skills identified by the World Economic Forum, that's supposed to be forever. And then from there, I go into, okay, let's go ahead and assess those skills and let's pay attention to those transferable skills. And then you have to look at what you have in terms of what is going on in the industry that you like or you are currently involved. I guess what happens is most people say, oh, no, I push you you have to self-identify what profile you are. So you think you are, oh my God, I'm a navigator and I know everything. Okay. But then I push you. So then I tell you, hey, since you are this, do these things. And then you start trying. So the key is that we do have to try, but somebody else to push us. And then when you try, then it's gonna psychologically, not only psychological, but also emotionally, you're gonna then be open to say, oh, okay, so this is what I need to do. You see, the problem is that we are stagnated. We are afraid, as you said, to try something. And I advise people that the first thing they need to do is if you watch CNN every day, well, you know what, today or every Tuesday, you want to watch Fox. If you watch Fox, well, you know what, one day a week, you have to watch CNN or whatever.
Wait, you're asking people to change. Madeleine, how dare you ask people to change? No, I totally agree with you. And especially right now, I get this feeling there's so much disruption, not just in government, not just with what's going on with Doge and all that, but we're seeing the same things in industry as well.
Yes.
So there's this big shift, and I can't quite figure out where it's going to end up. I do know that generative AI is going to have a play. I do know that effectiveness and efficiency are going to be critical for success.
No, sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, I get so excited,
Yeah.
So I believe that each industry has to make a decision, and that decision to completely use AI for whatever they are. Of course, it's going to vary by industry, but they still have to make a decision whether they are going to go ahead and use the technology or they are going to have a combination where we have the employees, right, the workers and the technology, or they maybe decide not to do it. So that's going to be a decision of the business world. And what happened is that's what I say, that is our responsibility to go ahead and educate ourselves. And if we want to be active participants of this change, because let's be realistic, if companies were created to help everybody, then, right, companies were created for profit, right? That's what it is.
Right.
The purpose is profit. So my point is that as an individual, we have agency and we can make our own decisions and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and see what is going on here, what is going to affect my field or the field that I would like to be in, and then take these steps. Okay, there is a lot of certifications because we're moving to a skill-based training. You take all of that, you take the initiative, and it is okay to go in your company and go ahead and see what's going on. Because that's another thing. When I wrote the book, okay, remember last year I was talking about this in, I guess, May, June. I was looking at my LinkedIn. Nobody paid attention. Everybody like, oh, Madeleine, yeah. Well, now everybody's paying attention, right? Because it's real. Yeah. So what I really, really emphasize is that the beginning was all individuals. But then my book started becoming very interesting for people in HR because the HR needs to upskill and reskill, but this time it has to be with input of the workers. So it's not going to be just one side. So that's what I say, that if we take responsibility and approach the company and come up with solutions to problems, then it's going to be easier for us to make any type of transition. And HR is the same way. No anymore. It's like you have the leadership, HR, then here, IT. No. Now HR, technology divisions, they become central to leadership.
So that brings up an interesting, question. I think I know where I want the answer to go, and that is the people that work for you. Do you feel that they'll become more valuable or less valuable to an organization as we move forward in this transition? Or are we going to see that people are replaceable even more so moving forward? So if they become more replaceable and democratized, human resources are democratized, easy to swap in and out, then why should I spend my time and money training people? And so I'm wondering if HR departments are feeling that way right now. People don't matter, right? Because I think there's a little bit of that going on. I actually think the opposite is true. I actually think that skilled people that know how to use these new tools, that are experts in their field, that spend the time to explore and to push the boundaries and to go beyond, are going to be so much more valuable than normal in the past. I think you might see this shift in evaluation of individuals. I think we'll move away from democratization to true market value of individuals that are out there that has special skills, which I think
I agree
CEOs are scared of that, right? Because CEOs are like, I want to democratize. I should be able to swap in and out any person I want, anytime, to save on money. And I think we're moving in the opposite direction. What do you think?
Yeah, this is fascinating. I think that it is going to be a decision from each company that they're going to say, I'm going to replace everybody. I'm only going to keep certain areas. And who knows, maybe in the future, as technology keeps evolving, that is going to be a luxury to have a human. But within this transition, it is us who need to go ahead and find the opportunities and our skills. Because right now, you know more about AI than I do, but we still have to deal with a lot of issues because we do not have a way to evaluate all the large, language models. We still have a lot of things about the technology. So my point is that we still need the humans. We need the humans to be able to see where we're going to go. But it is a responsibility of us to be able to see and anticipate the trends in the industry. You see? So now, if this company is not for me, well, you know what? I'm sorry, but then go ahead and find another industry. So I think this goes back now to what is called adaptable, and we are evolving. And that I think that is the crucial part. We have to be able to become agile, that it is so difficult. So in my book, I try to help people to develop certain type of behaviors because, okay, this is what we're talking today, right? But who knows, maybe in a month, I don't know, I'll be in 3 or 4 podcasts.
Yeah, it might be something different. You're right.
Yeah. Right.
So
and
Madeleine, people want to find, if they want to find your book, Madeleine, where do they go? Amazon? What's the name of your book?
Yes, they go to Amazon. Here is the book. They go to Amazon. Okay, so it's backwards, but it's okay. They go to Amazon and it's called Thrive in the AI and Digital Age, the Think 4 Step Career Guide and Workbook. It's actually a workbook, meaning that you can write here or you can go to my website. I love your
workbook concept. I like the workbook concept. It means it's something tangible. It's not just pie in the sky. Right. You know, this is cool. So Madeleine, this is awesome. For anyone listening, go out to Amazon, grab Madeleine's book.
Go to my website. Yes.
Oh yeah, and her website.
That's right, MadeleineWallace.com.
So hey, Madeleine, thank you for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure having you.
Oh my God, it was wonderful. Let's keep in touch, okay?
Thank you for listening to Embracing Digital Transformation today. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it 5 stars on your favorite podcasting site or YouTube channel. You can find out more information about Embracing Digital Transformation at embracingdigital.org. Until next time, go out and embrace the digital revolution.